Any global pandemic has stages to the spread of the virus. When you talk about COVID-19 or the coronavirus, there are 4 stages attached to it. The number 1 is imported cases, where a person is infected who has possibly come from the epicenter of the outbreak of this epidemic. In this case, it could have been somebody who's come in from China earlier on, someone who has clear marked travel history to a country which is deeply or gravely infected by the virus, or has come from the epicenter of the pandemic or the epidemic. This is stage 1 of COVID-19. Stage 2 is local transmission. What is local transmission? Now, local transmission is where your contact tracing can actually be traced, which means a person found corona positive can trace his contact history to someone who has traveled abroad to the epicenter of the virus or to a country which is gravely infected. For example, if I am found to be corona positive today and I have met somebody who has come from a country which is infected, or I have met somebody else who's come from the epicenter of this epidemic and I am corona positive, that means this is local transmission, because my travel history can be traced to a person who has traveled. That's contact tracing. Now, the third stage is community spread. What is community spread? Community spread is when a person is found infected and the source of infection cannot be traced. That person has no travel history, that person has not been in contact with anyone who has had travel history, and the source of infection is completely unknown. This is what India fears. We are recording a few cases, but not enough to call it community spread. We are having cluster outbreaks where we are experiencing cases where the source of infection is not traced. Because in stage 1, stage 2, source of infection can clearly be traced. Stage 3, community spread, the source of infection is not known. And this is how the virus actually multiplies. Now, what is the dreaded phase 4? Many say countries like Italy right now are in phase 4, which is the epidemic stage, where there is no end to that epidemic in the foreseeable future, where massive amounts of cases in terms of import of numbers continue to be reported, the fatalities are high, and there is no near end which is visible to this epidemic or the pandemic. These are the 4 stages of the coronavirus pandemic globally. Now, where does India stand in all of this? India could possibly be standing on the precipice of community spread. Right now, we are only in local transmission, where in most cases, not all, we have a few cases where the contact history or travel history cannot be traced, and these are cases which have cropped up in clusters without any known contact to anyone who has traveled abroad or traveled to an infected country. But largely, most cases can be traced to someone who has come from a country which has many cases of coronavirus. But like I said, India right now is inching towards community spread. A lot of cases coming in right now where the source of history is unknown. So India right now anywhere between stage 2 and stage 3. So how can India or how can any country stop the transition from one stage to the other? Well, we are doing all that needs to be done right now. Number 1 in this is social distancing. That is something which is being followed right now in the country. The other one is a strict lockdown. That is something which is being followed in the country because this is an infectious disease. The transmission can be stemmed, stopped, or at least slowed down if we have complete lockdown. That is why now certain states which are seeing a higher number of cases are having lockdowns within a lockdown, complete sealing of societies and areas which are reporting a high number of cases. So yes, social distancing, complete lockdown, and lastly, testing and more testing, because then we'd be able to have an idea the proportion of the epidemic that we are dealing with.